Kia ora, good morning and welcome to Taupo on the central North Island of New Zealand, the resort capital of the North Island, and what promises to be a classic weekend live from the Taupo International Motorsport Park. It is the 6th Rent-A-Car Historic Grand Prix weekend, which is round 2 of the Next Gen New Zealand Championship presented by Repco, and you're going to see so much this weekend. It's going to be the blend of old and new, F5000s, Formula Atlantics, which is the historic Grand Prix, and you'll meet many famous faces that have raced these cars. But it's also the start of finding the next F1 world champion with round 1 of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship, with qualifying starting now for race number 1. It is going to be a bumper weekend. You will not want to miss it live here on Stuff's Speed Up. So it's time to get buzzing and get going for a classic weekend of racing. And it's good morning to Andrew Waite, and welcome back and Happy New Year to Jonathan Green.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, and Happy New Year to all of you watching. This is the first major international single-seater race of the year, quite literally around the world. We kick off the year right here down under in New Zealand. And I'll tell you what, Andrew, I don't need to tell you, this has been a breeding ground for some up-and-coming stars of the future. And we've got one coming this weekend, the one and only Liam Lawson.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant to get this weekend underway like we have been.
Problems already for 17. That's Nikita Johnson, the American.
Yeah, especially with his pace yesterday and fastest in that last session. That is not what we want to see for him straight off the bat. But I tell you what, Jonathan, I cannot wait for this qualifying session. There's been so much anticipation building up for this weekend, but something's not right there. I'm wondering if he's just pulled aside to do a bit of a, what we could say, an international reset, turn everything off and got everything going again. But the way it's rolling along kind of suggests otherwise. So hopefully they can get that sorted and get him going.
Well, Andrew, he is actually the only driver I've seen with a mechanical issue this weekend. He had an intermittent electrical problem yesterday in one of the sessions. It cost him laps. He didn't get to do a race run because he only got 8 laps in, and they found out it was basically an electrical issue. We don't need to get deep and down into it. The bottom line is he had to come in, they had to fix it, and it looks as though there's something else, or the same thing has occurred again, because what he did was he lost power down the back straight yesterday, and it looks as though that is a huge story to kick us off, because he was the fastest man of the weekend so far, and he's the youngest driver here, just 16, from Florida in the USA.
Yeah, it's a huge blow for him to be stuck on the side of the track. As we just got one car, we've got a red flag situation now while we get this car.
And I think that's why the 14 didn't go out, is he knows it was going to be a red flag fairly soon, and sure enough, immediately the 2 drivers getting out, and yeah, red flag. So what a start to the year. This is not good. As a racing driver yourself, you get all prepared, you do 2 days of testing and practice, and then suddenly you're at a red flag situation in 30 seconds of the first qualifying session.
Well, this is really where the weekend starts, is here and now in qualifying. Everyone plays their games in practice. You've got so many things going on. You're sharing data if you're the fastest car. So, you know, there's always games going on in the background as well. So every team does it. It's all part of it, as we can see. Pilcher there, who runs the M2 competition team, he's obviously having a chat to the guys on his car to figure out what's going on, to see the feedback from the driver and what's happening. But
well, we're told from the lane it looks like fuel pressure issues, which could be similar to what happened the other day. Obviously, I'm not inside the car, and I'm certainly not inside the team. But if Mark Pilcher, Jonathan Morey, and the rest of the team can't fix it, no one can. M2 competition, the dominant force of this championship over the last decade. But this is a huge story. Obi Johnson, his dad, is here with him, and they've come here. They've had a very, very busy 2024, where they raced both in the USA and in the UK in GB3, and Nikita was looking so good coming into this, and this is going to be just the worst possible way to start his 5-weekend endeavor down here in New Zealand. First time here. There is Obi. And Obi Johnson, his name. Loves it. He's a motorcycle racer. Gave up when he hurt himself, and I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. But he sounded like he knew what he was doing. He's done some big races in what is the sort of USA version. Now, let's take a look at the track that is Taupo, and let's have Andrew Waite talk us through it.
Taupo International Motorsport Park. It is one full-on circuit as you make your way around here, with 14 corners total, 3.3 kilometre distance. It's certainly full on from the moment you get into turn 1. It's an important corner because from there it sets you up for turn 2, then turn 3, then turn 4 before you're making your way into turn 5. And that's half the track before you even get started there. So very, very important section to get right. And then down into turn 6 and 7, bit of an awkward braking zone down into turn 7 there, something that the drivers need to work on, making sure they're nice and straight on that steering before they get that braking done. And then turn 8, nice and fast and flat through there before you arrive at turn 9, one of the favourite corners on the track for everyone through there. Very, very fast corner. And the rest of the track from there is there's opportunities everywhere around this track. You've got the far end corner as well, which is a corner that you've got to really work on the exit, getting that exit right. So that's one corner the drivers will be working on. The track down there is very high degradation as well, so that makes it even harder, but it's the same for everyone. And you've got to sort of embrace those surface changes and know that it's the same for everyone. And I can just about guarantee, even though these drivers will be finding it tough, they won't be complaining because they know it's the same for everyone else. And just back to Nikita's issue there, at least now it's not intermittent. There's something obviously seriously wrong with that. Yeah. So the silver lining in this situation, they can see exactly what's going on now with that car and why it's faulting, and hopefully they can get that issue fixed and get back out there.
Well, as you can see, we're running through the different cars as they wait to go out to qualify. That was Michael Shin. He's returning. He got a podium here last year and moved away from Taupo after the first round with a 4th place overall in the championship, and he ended up as 4th as well. So he is definitely one to watch. For the locals, the number 69, Seb Manson, also returning, but for the first time a full season for Seb, and he's been busy at 24.
Yeah, it's great to see him out there. He did a lot of miles in the end in 2024. He's been over in Japan doing some racing over there with some fantastic results here as well. So I think Seb's going to be one that we can expect that each round he's just going to get better and better and better. We can already see as the weekend's going on that he does keep improving as well.
Well, let's find out the latest from the pit lane. Let's head down to Greg Rust.
JG, Andrew, good morning to both of you. It's amazing in these moments. It's our first qualifying session of the year as they roll out a pit lane again now. Just to look at the body language of some of the other teams. So like Stephen Giles is pacing up and down the lane. He knows this changes the rhythm of the qualifying session. So there's an eagerness to get this back underway. I've just wandered to M2 for another update. I know we've established what we believe the problem is fuel pressure-wise. There is confidence that they can sort this once they get the car within about 3 minutes and get it sent back out on track again. So there is a feeling he should be back in action fairly promptly here. We'll keep you posted.
Great stuff, thank you, Greg. Yeah, and obviously we'll keep up to date with what's going down in pit lane. But Stephen Giles, and of course a former engineer of the great Mika Hakkinen in his day with McLaren Formula One. So if Stephen Giles is perturbed by something, everybody notices.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one very, very clever guy, along with many of other people like that up and down this pit lane. It's some of the best in the world here in the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship here, getting these cars. And speaking of,
wow, that's great news.
Already got this car.
Really good news. It could well have been just a loose connection, something as simple as that. I don't want to pontificate because I'm sure Greg or Stephen will tell us what actually happened, and I'm sure Mark Pilcher will give us the info we need. But the good news is young 16-year-old Floridian young Nikita Johnson is out on track, and he has been the sensation. Arvid Lindblad comes in here, the British driver with Swedish heritage, and again you can see the smile on Obi's face as he knows that his son is finally out there. Greg's already on the case, so we will find out fairly soon, I'm sure. But yeah, it's great to have Nikita here, and he really is starting to make a name for himself internationally. I mentioned Arvid Lindblad. He is down here with Red Bull. There he is. And of course, the history of Red Bull Juniors coming down here, going all the way back to Brendan Hartley, who won the first race at Timaru some 20 years ago, and ironically he's here this weekend, watching his dad race. But we've had Kvyat, we've had Lucas Auer. Let's head down now to Greg Rust and find out just what happened to Nikita Johnson.
I'll keep this short, JG. Fuel coupling. They're saying fuel coupling, so very easy fix for them. And what Mark Pilcher has said to him now is this is a great test of the young blokes and how they deal, these young racers, with moments like this. So he said, you know what? He's got clear track position. He can actually turn this into his advantage now.
Yeah, absolutely right. And in fact, to give the scores on the doors, we've had 4 minutes of this session. There are just under 11 minutes to go. There are some times on the board, but none of them are competitive. They literally are just a warm-up lap. So this is going to be a frenetic and frantic session.
Yeah, absolutely it will. And just to break that fuel coupling situation down a little bit more, what I think he means there is when they take fuel in and out of the cars, I've got to change the hoses, and they've got quick release hosing. So whether or not that didn't quite go back together properly, and obviously the fuel that was in the lines got him out of the lane as far as that, and then obviously he had no fuel in the car from there. But the main thing is, in some ways, that's actually a good thing, because you're not chasing issues, trying to figure out what was going wrong. It was like, right, there's a mistake, let's get on with it, let's get on with our weekend. One thing that's really picking up my attention here, Jonathan, is just how slowly these guys are building in this tyre. This Pirelli tyre, just they're taking it so slowly on this first lap or two to just build it up. I've never seen them do it this slowly, but this is obviously something that they've learned. And last year was the first year with that Pirelli tyre. They were a little bit faster than this. This time around, they're figuring out that they really need to build that tyre up a lot slower to be able to get it ready to go for a lap. And we're only going to see 2 or 3 laps out of these tyres, so it's really important that they get these laps in early, find that clean air.
Yeah, the rotation is something like this. You get 2, maybe 3 laps to warm the tyre up, then go for push laps, 2, maybe 3 if you don't lock up anything, then come back in, cool those tyres down, and go back out for a second run. And after that, really, you might want to go out again. Russ, Greg, what's the latest down now?
I'm down at MTech JG, and as you can see, the Aussie, who's been doing such a good job in GB3 last year, Patrick Huitzenroder, has come in. David Brabham is here doing a bit of mentoring with him. I might try and grab a word. What do they think, DB, has happened to this car?
Well, it seems something with the steering rack. You know, the steering rod has popped out, so they're trying to pop it back in. So that's all I can see at the moment.
We'll leave you to it. He's busy. He's on the headset and listening and guiding Patrick along the way here for the...
Interesting, and what a guy to have in your corner. Ex-Formula One star David Brabham, and of course from that legacy of motorsport from Australia. So Patrick in good shape, but not physically with the car at the moment.
Yeah, a bit of a shame to see that situation, but hopefully they can get that sorted and get it back out there. We've got to remember it is only qualifying at the same time. It's not race points that he's losing in this situation. So again, that silver lining, at least this isn't happening in a race, and it's happening now for him.
Now, as we watch the 23 of Michael Shin of South Korea, we're keeping an eye on him because, of course, he's one of the few returning drivers to the championship. He did the full season last year, had a good run, and he really did say that it helped him to get to the next level and get notoriety. But talking of notoriety, Zach Skula, the man from Dubai, but is a Kiwi, just set the fastest lap so far. It's early days, 1:24. Low 124s. We got into the 23s and even into the 22.9s in one of the practice sessions, but this is qualifying. This is where it counts.
It absolutely is. Oh, as we see a big
you won't
lock
like
up.
that.
No, it's not what Michael Shin wants there, that lock-up. That'll hurt that tyre, and you can see him sideways out of that corner there. It's very slippery through that part of the track. It's so important to get a good run onto that straight, so this isn't going to be good for his lap, as this was most likely his first push lap as well. So that tyre will not be in good shape for the rest of this lap. So he will need to have a bit of a reset here, get himself back in line, and have another crack at it.
How much impact does a big race weekend with lots of different cars, especially historic, make when you're at the sharp end of a single-seater formula, which is so twitchy?
You've just got to get everything right. It's as simple as that. When you've got this many world-class drivers out there having a go, and we can see these lap times starting to come down, and the track temperature, even though it is sunny out there at the moment, the track temperature isn't that high as we see.
That's James Lawley taking the law into his own hands there, the Canadian.
Yeah, it's not a spot you want to come off. Very, very fast through there. You're relying on a lot of aero through that part of the corner. So he'll be trying to clean those tyres off and get ready for another lap as we take a look at a replay again.
Yeah.
And that's hard as well. The way he's gone over that curb, you've got to think underneath that car there's not a lot between you and the ground there. So that would have hurt quite a bit going over that curb as well. So he'll bit of a jaw shatterer, and he'll be back underway and get back on with another lap.
Well, Kiwi might bring him in and just check the car and check the suspension that there's nothing broken or bent, as we take a look at a certain favourite for this year, Arvid Lindblad. He was 4th in the FIA Formula 3, and he's heading to Formula 2 with Campos this year. So that's why everybody's talking about him. And Helmut Marko, as he's done so many times before, the man, of course, who kind of engineers the junior drivers at Red Bull, has sent him down here to get super license points. It's in writing. That's the job. That's what he's got to do. If he wins this championship, he can put 18 points towards the 40 he needs for super license.
And again, that just shows where this championship is at, the Castrol Tour de Formula Regional Oceania Championship. This is the gateway to Formula One. You've got to come here to be able to get those points, to be able to go to Formula One. Gone are the days of being able to just go here and there. This is recognised as a category that can lead you all the way to the top.
I think it's amazing. We've got halfway through this session. We haven't mentioned Will Brown, winner here in Supercars and the current Supercars champion. He has decided to go single-seater racing. A brave move, especially when you're at the top of your game, but that's the kind of guy he is at 26.
Yeah, and that just shows why, you know, he is as good as what he is. He backs his talent, he knows how good he is, and everyone else is, you know, realizes what he can do. And just the way he came straight in yesterday, or even the day before, and he was straight off the bat, very, very quick. And at the end of the day, this is good for his driving. You know, it doesn't matter what you drive, where you drive it. If you're in a car driving, that is so good for your driving for when you go on and race other things. Or when he gets back into the supercars, he's going to be sharp. He's going to be 5 race weekends in compared to other people that have done no racing. So that certainly makes a difference.
Really impressed with the group that Nicholas Kyle has put together. We've got many countries, 8 in all represented. And the name that you're seeing, Matias Sagazeta, Peruvian. Never heard of a Peruvian racing driver, but we've got one now.
Yeah, great to see him out there sitting in 4th place at the moment, as Nikita as well, sitting in 3rd place there. So that little hiccup at the start of the session hasn't affected him too much. He's up at the pointy end.
Now, Arvid is from Great Britain, but as you can see from the name, it's an interesting combination because his father's from Sweden. Stefan is here this weekend to watch his son race. He's just 17 years of age. And the Arvid part comes from his mum, who's from the UK, but her heritage is from India. So quite a combination, but he loves it, and he's a really interesting guy, typically focused like any Red Bull driver would be. And yeah, he has been earmarked for the future.
Yeah, and speaking of Red Bull drivers, Will Brown on screen there. You may recognise that helmet too. That is a ring-in helmet from Liam Lawson to be able to get Will into the car. Because obviously with the FIA rules and what's required and the level of safety in this category, you've got to have a certain helmet. So to have the right helmet, Will's had to make the phone call to Liam Lawson to get that helmet, to be able to allow him to get out there and get on with it.
Well, as we look down at Giles Motorsport, there is Stephen Giles.
Standing there with Alistair Wooten and Andrew Edwards as well, who is Andrew Edwards. He is Will Brown's engineer on his supercar as well, so they've got a close connection, and he's clearly on the radio to him at the moment, just giving him a few updates. So it's again that relationship, them working together in a category away from supercars.
Whoa, big moment for Nikita.
Help.
Yeah, that's a great combination you've got there at Giles for Will. And yeah, it's quite a good story because there's more to this story, because it's not the first time that Liam Lawson has stepped in to help a teammate. Of course, he gave his boots to Max Verstappen at Baku quite famously, and now he's given his helmet to Will Brown. I love it. But here is Nikita Johnson from the USA, currently in 3rd position and looking to try to improve on that. That's a good recovery for a guy who was stuck on track after 30 seconds.
Yeah, just to show his level of, you know, confidence to be able to do that, to be able to get over what's happened and then just get on with the job and, you know, not let it affect him sitting there in 3rd place. We're just seeing the lap times at the moment, not a lot of improvement going on. You see, oh, big lock up there, easy done. It's quite awkward when you go down into that section of the track there. The track sort of closes up and you got the trees on the right-hand side. It sort of nearly puts you off your marker, and you sort of struggle to see where the slowest point of the corner is there. So that's why it's easy to lock up on top of the surface as well. It certainly makes it quite difficult. And then as you can see as they come down into there, the attitude on the car.
Yeah, I just saw Lawley in the back of shot there, going quite slowly. You see him just coming into shot there at the back. I think he's going to come into the pits. I'll keep an eye on that. And no question that there's plenty of drama going on here at the moment. Nikita Johnson, though, trying to push, and push. He's locked up a few times. If you're interested in the tyres and want to know the allocation, they get 2 brand new sets of tyres for the weekend. And so they'll use one. Oh, he's sideways. We can see his sponsors, that's for sure. But yeah, they get 2 sets of tyres, and they'll probably use one today for both the qualifying and the race, and then start again afresh tomorrow. 1 minute remaining in the session. The gap is 0.078 from Zach Schooler, and boy, that would be a headline if this young Kiwi were to upstage the likes of Will Brown, Nikita Johnson, and many others. Arvid Lindblad currently half a second almost off the pace in 6th position, which is a surprise.
Michael Shin there sitting in 5th place as well, recovering from that lock-up a bit earlier on, so he's doing a great job sitting there as well, but it's pretty close between 7/100ths of a second at the moment, separating Zach Schooler and Will Brown, but as this time ticks down, those tyres will be getting more and more worn out, but edge is going off them for sure, so we'll just keep an eye to see if these times get any quicker, but at the moment, doesn't look like there's any improvements coming.
No, and remember, it's a long season this. It may only be 5 weeks, but 15 races in those 5 weeks, 3 at each round. So a lot of racing, over 3,500 kilometers in all. So these guys are going to be dialed in by the end of it. But it looks as though, for now, Lindblad improves. He's gone to 4th position. Saw the runner-up from last year, Liam Skeets, another Kiwi who'll be pleased to see him out front. Zach Schooler, that is.
Current New Zealand Grand Prix champion as well to add to that one. Yeah. So fantastic to see him here doing a bit of coaching as well. And he's prepping himself for hopefully a season overseas in America as well.
Schooler, of course, the recipient of the foundation money that helped him get this drive from Tony Quinn. And it's been a real fill-up for young drivers, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. And it shows it's working. You know, a guy like him coming in and being on pole as well, so that's fantastic for the Tony Quinn Foundation to see that, you know, that support going into drivers that are taking on, you know, looking for the next world champion. It's exactly what's happening.
Also good to see the title sponsor of City Frog, Castrol, backing this man from Invercargill, the number 41, Alex Crosby, who returns and takes the checkered flag. So this will be an interesting season for him. Let's head down to Greg Rust in pit lane.
Guys, just a little something to note on the timing screen there. There was an awful lot of time, unfortunately, lost here at MTech while they were working on the car for Patrick Hoitzenroder. He got 1 lap, 1 shot at that, and he got that car to 6. So great work ultimately by the team, but particularly Pat, who's got David Brabham on the radio with him, to remain calm while they lost all that time in the lane here, to dig deep, to get a lap. Nice work.
Absolutely, good work, Greg. And yeah, he is a cool customer, though, Patrick. I've had a few chats with him. Perfect guy to have in your corner, David Brabham. Calm as you like, and well, he'll take it in his stride. But that is a very good story, because it's hard to do 1 lap and still make the top 6.
Absolutely, especially later on in the session as well. The track was just getting that little bit hotter as well, so that's fantastic for him to come home in 6th place. Is very, very impressive.
Now, I mentioned 3 races per weekend. This grid will define the starting grid for this afternoon's first race. We then go to race 2 tomorrow. We have qualifying for the 3rd race, the feature race, in the morning, and then we go to a reverse top 8 from that race today to decide the grid for race 2. So it's a reverse top 8, and then we go to the qualifying for race 2, and that decides the grid for race 3. But the big story is we have a young Kiwi on pole position, Zach Schooler, based in Dubai, but a Kiwi through and through. Would you believe it? It's his first time ever racing at home. What a way to do it. So, Zach Schooler with a 1:23.6 ahead of Will Brown. He'll be happy with that. Nikita Johnson recovering well, gets 3rd. Arvid Lindblad in 4th position. Sagazeta in 5th, then Hoizenroder brilliantly in 6th. Michael Shin 7th, Josh Pearson, another one of the Americans, Enzo Ye of Chinese Taipei 9th, and Nicolas Monteiro, another Brazilian, to the fray. And we've had some great success from South Americans over the years. Sean Racine of the USA 12th, Alex Crosby of New Zealand in 13th position. Then Jet Bowling, the man who was the most improved driver from last year, returns for the USA. Yeah, and you can see that he's very happy with that. Let's head down to Stephen, who is going to be chatting to our top 3, and they're each congratulating each other. Well done to Will Brown, but there is the young man that is Zach Schooler.
Thanks, JG. All righty, it was Zach Schooler, the Tony Quinn Foundation shootout recipient, is our first pole position winner for the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship in race number 1, which is coming up a little bit later this afternoon. Mate, Congratulations. Shootout winner, M-Tech at the front for the first weekend. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, pole on debut in these cars, it's always a great feeling. Wasn't really expected, but we had some work to do last night after testing. So yesterday looked okay. The pace was always there, but we didn't think we were going to go pole.
A little bit of a hiccup at the start with Nikita Johnson's fuel coupling issues, and you had to come back into pit lane. Did that put you off at all?
I used it as a time to reflect on what we needed to change from yesterday, so it actually probably helped me.
All right, let's give you your pole position trophy. I want to welcome Paul McKenzie from Castrol Regional Manager, and the Toyota Financial Services pole position trophy goes to New Zealand and Zach Schooler. Congratulations. How about that? M-Tech at the front for the first weekend and on pole position for race 1 later on this afternoon. I can hear cars all over the place, which means Heritage